AgWeek Weather is sponsored by Bremer Bank. Connect with a banker today at bremer.com.
Will this favorable weather continue? Here's John with our AgriWeather outlook.
The weather always gets a little colder across the northern plains, the southern part of Canada, the upper Midwest as we get into November. It is, after all, the time of the year where fall and sometimes early winter really begins to kick in. We just we are so much near the nadir of the year, right? We're almost to the winter solstice. There just isn't that much energy in the sun. Still a little lingering heat left over in the water cycle that keeps things a little bit milder. And of course, across so much of the United States, this has been a very warm fall. Well, it looks like it's about to begin turning, not reversing. I don't see an abnormally cold pattern. I see November moving toward more average weather and also moving toward wetter weather, especially in some of the areas that have been quite dry. There's going to be some opportunity for some fall replenishing moisture in through parts of the northern plains and the western part of the Corn Belt as we get into November before we get into winter freeze up, which would be very helpful for agricultural purposes, but not necessarily helpful for finishing up the corn harvest. We start off this first week of the forecast still with very warm weather pattern. Going to be 70s as far north as North Dakota Sunday and Monday. That will begin to turn, but fairly hot weather with temperatures up around 90 degrees or at least well into the 80s from Missouri down through Texas and along the Gulf Coast. But at the same time, starting to see more sub-freezing weather drop down into at least where we can see it in through northern parts of Canada, and the Rockies are beginning to get cold. Note in this pattern, there is a low pressure system, southwest flow in the Great Plains. This is a type of pattern that tends to bring weather systems moving out of the southern Rockies and out across the plains, and that is one that will bring moisture. Can bring strong storms. Don't see any huge precip makers yet, but I do see a bend toward getting some rainier and perhaps snowier weather into parts of the Great Plains. Meanwhile, as we look at the temperature pattern this week, the warmth in the south will gradually be scrunched. The cooler weather will begin to drop down, and at least where we can see it, and by the weekend, I think we will be consistently cool. And by that, I mean a lot of weather in the 40s under the light blue and 30s and colder where it's the dark blue. And that will gradually drop further and further south. So we are starting to see a little bit of a pattern shift as cooler weather comes down. Also the dry areas, southwest and northeast, middle of the country, will be getting some rain opportunities, snow in the Rocky Mountains and western Canada. And for the second week, it still looks fairly wet in the Great Plains. And we may even see some of that snow in early November come out of the mountains. Won't spread over all the Midwest just yet, though.
For home delivery of AgWeek, log on to agweek.com or call 800-811-2580.